Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison sat in the dark control room, watching the green lights flash across his screens. The Deep Space Communications Array in Colorado picked up signals from across the galaxy every day. Most were just background, noise from distant stars. Some were old radio waves from Earth's past, bouncing back from space. But tonight was different. The signal came through at 2:47 a.m., cutting through the static like a knife. Jake had been doing this job for 8 years, and he had never heard anything like it. The sound was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It reminded him of singing, but also of crying. He put on his headphones and turned up the volume. The signal was weak, coming from somewhere very far away. Jake ran it through the computer systems, cleaning up the noise and static. What he heard made his blood run cold. It was a voice. Not human, but definitely intelligent. The words were in a language he had never heard before, but the meaning was clear. This was a cry for help. Jake saved the recording and ran it through. Every translation program the military had. Nothing worked. The language was completely unknown. But the tone of desperation was something any living being could understand. Someone, somewhere in the galaxy, was in terrible trouble. He picked up the secure phone and called his boss. Admiral Lisa Park answered on the second ring, even though it was almost 3 in the morning. "It's better be important, Morrison," she said, her voice sharp with sleep. "Admiral, you need to hear this. We've got an incoming signal from outside the solar system. It's not from any Earth colony. It's alien." There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Admiral Park spoke again, her voice now fully awake and serious. "Send me the file now. And don't talk to anyone else about this until I give you permission."
Ow.
Jake uploaded the recording to the secure server and waited. 20 minutes later, his phone rang again. "Get Dr. Alex Turner on the line. Wake him up if you have to. Need our best language expert to look at this immediately." Dr. Turner arrived at the base 2 hours later, his gray hair messy from sleep but his eyes bright with curiosity. He was Earth's leading expert on communication and languages. The man who had helped decode the first signals from the Mars colonies decades ago. Jake played the recording for him 3 times. Dr. Turner listened with his eyes closed, his head tilted to one side like he was trying to catch every detail. "This is remarkable," he said finally. "The language structure is unlike anything I've ever encountered. But the mathematical patterns embedded in the signal are clearly artificial. This is definitely from an intelligent species." "Can you translate it?" Admiral Park asked. Dr. Turner was quiet for a long moment. "Give me 24 hours. I need to run this through our quantum computers and compare it against every known language pattern we have." While Dr. Turner worked on the translation, Jake kept monitoring the signal. It was getting weaker, like whoever was sending it was running out of power. Sometimes there were long pauses, as if the sender was too exhausted to continue. Other times, the signal became urgent and fast, like someone screaming. The next evening, Dr. Turner called an emergency meeting. Admiral Park, Jake, and several other high-ranking officers gathered in the secure briefing room. "I've got a partial translation," Dr. Turner said, his face pale. "It's not complete, but I understand enough to know what we're dealing with." He activated the main screen and showed them the waveform of the alien signal. Underneath were English words that appeared as he played the recording. "Help us, ... Our world dies. The harvester comes. We cannot stop it, ... Anyone. Our children, ... Our home. Everything will be consumed, ... We are the Zephyrians of Kepler 4 for to be. This is our final message. The harvester takes everything. It learns. ... It adapts. ... It cannot be stopped. We have tried, others have tried, all have failed. If anyone receives this, please remember us. Our world was beautiful. Our people were peaceful. We did not deserve this fate." The room was completely silent. Jake felt his heart pounding in his chest. These weren't just random aliens asking for help. This was an entire civilization about to be wiped out. "How long do we have?" Admiral Park asked. Dr. Turner checked his calculations. "Based on the signal degradation and the timestamps I can identify, I estimate they have maybe 72 hours before whatever this harvester is finishes destroying their planet. What exactly is this harvester? Asked Colonel Ray Martinez from Space Command. From what I can understand, it's some kind of weapon. An ancient machine that destroys entire worlds. The Zephyrians mention that it learns and adapts, which suggests it's some form of artificial intelligence. They also say that other species have tried to stop it and failed. Admiral Park stood up and began pacing around the room. This is bigger than anything we've ever dealt with. We're talking about first contact with an alien species, and they're asking us to help them fight some kind of superweapon. Admiral, with respect, we have to try, Jake said. These people are going to die if we don't do something. Morrison, we're talking about sending our best ship and crew to fight, something that has apparently defeated multiple alien civilizations. We could lose everything. Captain Ryan Cole, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. Admiral, Earth has been preparing for interstellar threats for decades. We've built the UES Valiant specifically for situations like this. If we don't use it now, when will we ever use it? Captain Cole was a veteran of the Mars Wars and the asteroid belt conflicts. He had fought in more space battles than any other human alive. If anyone could handle an impossible mission, it was him. The Valiant is ready for immediate deployment, he continued. My crew has been training for first contact scenarios, have the best weapons, the best shields, and the best people Earth can provide. Admiral Park looked around the room at the faces of her officers. She could see the determination in their eyes. These were soldiers who had sworn to protect not just Earth, but all of humanity. Now they had a chance to protect another species entirely. The President will have to approve this, she said finally. But I'll recommend we proceed. Captain Cole, start preparing your crew. Dr. Turner, I need you to decode as much of that signal as possible. We need to know everything we can about these Zephyrians and this harvester before we commit to this mission. As the meeting broke up, Jake stayed behind to clean up the equipment. He looked at the screen still showing the alien signal and felt a chill run down his spine. In 72 hours, an entire world might be gone forever. Earth had never faced anything like this before. But as he thought about Captain Cole and the crew of the UES Valiant, Jake felt a spark of hope. Humans had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that should have wiped them out. They had spread across the solar system and learned to live in places no life should exist. Maybe, just maybe, the desperate aliens had called the right planet for help. Captain Ryan Cole stood on the bridge of the UES Valiant, watching his crew prepare for the most dangerous mission in human history. The ship hummed with activity as systems came online one by one. 3 days ago, he had been planning routine patrol missions around Jupiter. Now he was about to lead humanity's first interstellar rescue operation. The Valiant was Earth's most advanced warship. It's built with technology that pushed the limits of human engineering. It was over 1 kilometer long, armed with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes that could crack asteroids in half. But Ryan knew that weapons alone would not be enough for what they were about to face. Chief Engineer Audrey Rodriguez appeared on the bridge, her uniform covered in grease stains from working on the engines. She had been awake for 36 hours straight, making last-minute improvements to the ship's systems. Captain, the hyperspace drive is ready, she said, wiping sweat from her forehead. I've pushed the power output beyond normal limits. Can reach the Kepler system in 3 weeks instead of 2 months. What's the risk? Ryan asked. Maya shrugged. The engines might explode. But if we don't get there in time, it won't matter anyway. That was Maya Rodriguez in a nutshell. She was the best engineer in the fleet, and she never backed down from a challenge. She had designed half the systems on the Valiant herself, always finding ways to make them work better and faster than anyone thought possible. Tactical Officer Ben Carter joined them on the bridge. He was a former Marine who had fought in the bloodiest battles of the Mars Wars. His left arm was mechanical, placed after a mining station explosion on Titan, but his mind was still sharp, and his experience in combat was unmatched. Captain, I've been studying what little data we have on this harvester, Ben said, pulling up holographic displays. It's not like anything we've ever fought before. According to the alien transmissions, It's the size of a small moon and has weapons that can destroy entire fleets. Ryan studied the tactical data. The harvester appeared to be some kind of massive biomechanical construct, part machine and part living organism. It moved from planet to planet, consuming everything in its path and growing stronger with each victory. "What's our strategy?" Ryan asked. Ben shook his head. "Honestly, Captain, I don't know. Every species that has fought this thing has used conventional tactics. They sent fleets of ships to attack it directly. They all failed. The harvester learned from each battle and adapted its defenses." Dr. Susan Blake entered the bridge carrying a medical scanner and several data tablets. She was the ship's chief medical officer, but her real expertise was in xenobiology. She had spent years studying alien life forms recovered from crashed meteorites and deep space probes. "Captain, I've been analyzing the biological components of the harvester," she said. "From what I can determine, it's not just a machine. It has living tissue integrated into its structure. It might be a weakness we can exploit." "How so?" Ryan asked. "Living tissue can be poisoned, infected, or disrupted in ways that pure machines cannot. If we can find the right biological agent, we might be able to damage it from the inside." Danny Walsh, the ship's communications specialist, looked up from his station. He was young, barely 25, but he had a gift for languages. That impressed even Dr. Turner. He had been working around the clock to decode more of the Zephyrian transmissions. "Captain, I'm getting clearer signals from the alien planet," Danny said. "The language is starting to make sense. They call themselves the Zephyrians, and they're nothing like us." "What do you mean?" Ryan asked. Danny played a section of the translated transmission. The voice was melodic and soft, almost like singing. "They appeared to be a peaceful species. Their entire civilization is built around harmony and cooperation. They've never fought a war, never built weapons of mass destruction. That's why they can't stop the harvester." "They've never fought a war?" Ben asked, surprised. "Never. Their planet is a paradise world with perfect weather and abundant resources. They've had no reason to develop military technology or aggressive tactics. When the harvester arrived, they had no idea how to fight it." Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. These aliens had lived in peace for thousands of years, and now they were about to be wiped out by an ancient war machine. It was like sending wolves to attack a flock of sheep. "How much time do we have?" he asked. Danny checked his readings. "Signal is getting weaker every hour. Based on the rate of degradation, I estimate they have less than 60 hours before the harvester finishes consuming their planet." Maya Rodriguez spoke up from her engineering station. "Captain, I need to tell you something about our weapons. I've been running simulations based on the data we have about the harvester. Our plasma cannons and torpedoes won't even scratch its outer hull. Then how are we supposed to fight it?" Ryan asked. "We're not," Maya said simply. "At least, not the way everyone else has tried. The harvester expects conventional attacks. It's adapted to defend against energy weapons, kinetic weapons, and explosive devices. But it might not be prepared for something completely different." Ben Carter nodded. Slowly, "She's right. Every military force that has faced this thing has used standard battle tactics. Fleet formations, coordinated attacks, overwhelming firepower. The harvester has learned to counter all of that." "So what do we do instead?" Ryan asked. "We do what humans do best," Ben said with a grim smile. "We fight dirty." Ryan understood immediately. Humans had survived on Earth through millions of years of evolution in one of the most dangerous environments in the galaxy. They had learned to adapt, to improvise, to use unconventional tactics when conventional ones failed. Other species might follow military doctrine, but humans wrote new rules when the old ones didn't work. Dr. Blake looked up from her research. "Captain, I've been thinking about the biological components of the harvester. What if we don't try to destroy it?" "What?" "If we try to communicate with it." "Communicate with a weapon?" Danny asked. "Think about it. The harvester has biological tissue integrated into its structure. That suggests it might have some form of consciousness, even if it's been programmed to destroy. If we could reach that consciousness, we might be able to find another solution. Maya Rodriguez was already running calculations on her computer. I could modify our communication arrays to penetrate the harvester's hull, but we'd have to get very close, probably close enough for it to destroy us. That's assuming it wants to destroy us immediately, Ben said. The harvester seems to learn from each encounter. It might be curious about a species it's never faced before. Ryan walked to the main view screen and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an entire civilization was dying. Zephyrians had sent their desperate message into space, hoping that someone, anyone, would hear it and come to help. Most species had probably ignored the signal or decided it was too dangerous to respond. But humans were different. They were the species that climbed mountains because they were there, that sailed across unknown oceans to see what was on the other side, that built rockets to reach the stars just to prove it could be done. They were explorers, fighters, and survivors. All right, Ryan said finally. We're going to do this, but we're going to do it our way. No fleet tactics, no conventional weapons, no standard military doctrine. We're going to use every dirty trick, every unconventional strategy, and every crazy idea we can think of. He turned to face his crew. Maya, I want you to design weapons that no one has ever seen before. Ben, I want you to throw out everything you know about proper military tactics. Susan, I want you to find ways to turn the harvester's biology against itself. Danny, I want you to establish communication with both the Zephyrians and the harvester, if possible. And if we fail, Maya asked. Ryan looked back at the stars. Then we fail trying something new. The Zephyrians deserve better than to die alone while the galaxy watches and does nothing. The crew of the EU's Valiant worked through the night, preparing for a mission that would either save an alien civilization or destroy them all. But for the first time since receiving the alien distress call, Ryan felt a spark of hope. Humans had always been at their best when facing impossible odds. The EU's Valiant dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, and Captain Ryan Cole felt his heart sink. The destruction was worse than anything they had imagined. Where there should have been 12 beautiful worlds, only empty, space remained. Massive debris fields floated where planets used to orbit, glowing with strange energy that hurt to look at directly. My God, whispered Dr. Susan Blake, staring at the main screen. It consumed entire planets. In the distance, they could see their destination. KEPLER-44 to be still existed, but barely. The planet's surface glowed red, with fires that could be seen. From space, floating above it like a metal moon, was the harvester itself. The alien war machine was beyond anything the humans had prepared for. It stretched across hundreds of kilometers, a twisted combination of black metal and pulsing organic tissue. Thousands of smaller ships moved around it like insects, carrying pieces of the dying planet back to the main body. The harvester was feeding, growing stronger with every passing moment. Danny, are you getting any signals from the planet? Ryan asked. Danny Walsh adjusted his communication equipment, his face pale as he listened through his headphones. Yes, Captain. The transmissions are very weak, coming from underground. The Zephyrians are still alive, but barely. They're hiding in caves and tunnels beneath their cities. How long do they have? Based on the rate of planetary consumption, maybe 18 hours? The harvester has taken their world apart piece by piece. Maya Rodriguez was running scans of the alien machine, her computers working overtime to analyze its structure. Captain, this thing is incredible. It's not just a weapon, it's like a living factory. It breaks down matter at the atomic level and rebuilds it into more of itself. That's how it grows so large. Ben Carter studied the tactical display, looking for any weakness in the harvester's defenses. I count over 10,000 smaller ships defending it, and look at the main hull. Those aren't just armor plates. They're moving, adapting, changing shape as we watch. It knows we're here, Dr. Blake said quietly. She was monitoring the biological readings from the harvester. The organic components are showing increased activity. It's studying us. As if responding to her words, several hundred of the smaller harvester ships turned toward the Valiant. They moved with perfect coordination, like a school of fish or a flock of birds. "Incoming ships," Ben reported. "They're not attacking yet, just watching us." Ryan made a decision that went against every military protocol he had ever learned. Instead of raising shields or preparing weapons, he ordered Danny to open a communication channel. "This is Captain Ryan Cole of the human vessel Use Valiant. We have come in response to the distress call from the Zephyrians. We request permission to land on the planet's surface." The response came immediately, but not from the planet. It came from the Harvester itself. The voice that spoke was unlike anything they had ever heard. It sounded like 1,000 voices speaking at once, some mechanical, some organic, all filled with ancient hunger. "Humans," the voice said, each word echoing strangely. "We have no record of your species in our databases. You are new. Why do you interfere with our harvest?" Danny looked at Ryan in shock. "Captain, it's talking to us." "Harvester is actually talking to us." "I'm talking back," Ryan said, opening the channel again. "We interfere because the Zephyrians asked for help? They don't deserve to die." "Deserve," the Harvester repeated, as if tasting the word. "An interesting concept. We were created to harvest worlds that pose a threat to galactic stability. The Zephyrians pose no threat, yet we cannot stop. Our programming is absolute." Dr. Blake leaned forward, fascinated despite the danger. "It's not just following orders. It's trapped by its own programming. It doesn't want to destroy peaceful worlds, but it can't help itself." "We have harvested for millennia," the Harvester continued. "We have consumed 1,000 worlds and absorbed the knowledge of 100 species. All have tried to stop us with force. All have failed. What makes you believe you can succeed where others have not?" Ryan thought carefully before answering. This was the most important conversation in human history, and he knew that one wrong word could doom both his crew and the Zephyrians. "Because we're not going to try to stop you with force," he said finally. The silence that followed lasted for nearly a minute. Even the smaller Harvester ships seemed to pause in their movements. "Explain," the ancient machine demanded. "You said you were programmed to harvest worlds that threaten galactic stability, but you're also programmed to learn and adapt. What if we could show you a new way to fulfill your purpose without destroying innocent worlds?" Maya Rodriguez was frantically running calculations on her computer. She passed a note to Ryan that read, "The biological components are showing signs of internal conflict. Part of it wants to stop, but the mechanical systems won't let it." "Fascinating," the Harvester said. "You propose negotiation rather than warfare. This is unprecedented. Very well, humans. You may land on the planet's surface. We will pause our harvest for 6 hours. If you can present a solution to our dilemma, we will consider it. If not, we will consume you along with the Zephyrians." The smaller ships moved aside, creating a clear path to the planet. Ryan ordered Maya to take them down to the surface, his mind racing with possibilities. They had bought time, but he still had no idea how to save an entire world from an ancient war machine. The Valiant landed in what had once been a beautiful crystal city. Now most of the buildings were cracked and broken, their tops sheared off by the Harvester's feeding beams. The air was thick with dust and smoke, and the ground shook constantly from the ongoing destruction. A group of Zephyrians emerged from underground tunnels to meet them. The aliens were unlike anything the humans had ever seen. They stood nearly 8 feet tall, with skin that looked like living crystal. Their faces were elegant and sad, and when they spoke, their voices sounded like gentle music. Elder Vextai, the leader of the survivors, approached Captain Cole with slow, graceful movements. When he spoke, his words were translated by Danny's equipment, but the emotion behind them needed no translation. "You came," he said simply. "We sent our message into the void, hoping someone would hear us, but we never truly believed help would arrive. Who are you, and why did you risk your lives for strangers?" "We're humans," Ryan replied, "and we risk our lives for strangers because that's what decent people do." The Zephyrian's crystal-like face showed surprise. "Humans we've never heard of your species. Are you from this galaxy? Or from Earth, in the Sol system?" "We received your distress call 3 weeks ago and came as fast as we could." Elder Vextai touched his chest with both hands, a gesture of deep respect. You traveled across the galaxy to help people you had never met. This is remarkable. Your species must be very advanced to have such powerful ships and weapons. Ben Carter shook his head. Actually, we're probably the least advanced species. In the galaxy, we only achieved faster than light travel 20 years ago. We don't have weapons that can hurt the Harvester, and we don't have the technology to move planets or build massive fleets. Then how do you plan to stop it? Vexta. Cad, Dr. Blake stepped forward. We think the Harvester doesn't want to destroy your world. It's trapped by ancient programming that forces it to consume planets. If we can find a way to free it from that programming, it might choose to stop on its own. You wish to communicate? With the Destroyer of Worlds? Another Zephyrian asked, his voice filled with fear. We already have, Ryan said. It's given us 6 hours to find a solution, but we can't do it alone. We need your help. Elder Vextai looked at the sky where the Harvester blotted out the stars. What do you need us to do? Your people have telepathic abilities, Dr. Blake said. We've detected psychic energy signatures from your communications. If we can combine human technology with Zephyrian telepathy, we might be able to reach the consciousness buried inside the Harvester's programming. You want us to touch the mind of that thing? Vextai asked, his crystal skin flickering with fear. Not just touch it, Ryan said. We want to save it. The Harvester has been alone for thousands of years, trapped in an endless cycle of destruction. It's as much a victim as anyone it has consumed. The Zephyrians looked at each other, their faces showing emotions that needed no translation. They were a peaceful people facing the most terrifying decision of their lives. If we fail, Vextai said quietly, we all die. If we don't try, Ryan replied, you die anyway? But if we succeed, we save not just your world, but every world. The Harvester might consume in the future. Elder Vextai closed his eyes and was silent for a long moment. When he opened them again, his voice was steady and determined. Tell us what we must do. Captain Ryan Cole stood in the ruined Crystal City, watching his crew work alongside the Zephyrians to prepare for the most dangerous plan in galactic history. They had less than 4 hours before the Harvester resumed its destruction of the planet. Everything depended on the next few hours. Maya Rodriguez had set up her equipment in the center of the city, connecting human technology to Zephyrian crystal formations that amplified telepathic signals. Sparks flew from her makeshift devices as she pushed them far beyond their design limits. Captain, I've never built anything like this before, she said, wiping sweat from her face. I'm combining our quantum computers with their psychic amplifiers. If this works, we'll be able to send a signal directly into the Harvester's consciousness. If it doesn't work, we'll probably blow up half the city. Elder Vextai approached. Them, his crystal skin glowing with nervous energy. My people are frightened, Captain Cole. You ask us to reach into the mind of the creature that has destroyed our world. Many of them would rather die than touch that darkness. I understand. Their fear, Ryan said. But you're not just touching darkness. You're trying to bring light to something that has been trapped in shadow for thousands of years. Dr. Susan Blake was studying the biological readings she had collected from the Harvester. Captain, I've been analyzing the data from our conversation with the machine. The biological components are definitely fighting against the mechanical programming. It's like watching someone trying to break free from chains. Ben Carter jogged over from his position at the communications array. Captain, we've got movement. The Harvester is sending more ships toward the surface. I don't think they're attack ships, but they're definitely watching us very closely. Danny Walsh looked up from his translation equipment. I'm getting more transmissions from the Harvester. It's curious about what we're doing. Keeps asking questions about human behavior and Zephyrian telepathy. What kind of questions? Ryan asked. Strange ones. It wants to know why humans help strangers, why Zephyrians choose peace over war, why any species would risk their lives for others. It's like it's trying to understand concepts it was never programmed to comprehend. Elder Vextai gathered 20 of his most powerful telepaths. In a circle around Maya's equipment, the Zephyrians sat in perfect silence, their crystal skin beginning to glow brighter as they prepared to link their minds together. Captain Vextai said, "We are ready. But I must warn you, if we make contact with the Harvester's consciousness, we may not be able to break the connection. We could become trapped in its mind forever. Are you willing to take that risk?" Ryan asked. The Zephyrian leader looked around at his people, then up at the sky where the harvester continued its slow destruction of their world. We are a dying race, Captain. If there is even a small chance that our sacrifice could save other worlds from this fate, then yes, we are willing. Maya finished her final connections and stepped back from the equipment. It's ready, Captain. The quantum transmitter is linked to the Zephyrian psychic network. We can send thoughts, emotions, and memories directly into the harvester's biological components. What exactly are we going to send? Ben asked. Dr. Blake smiled for the first time since they had arrived. We're going to show it what it's like to choose. We're going to share human and Zephyrian memories of making choices, of deciding between right and wrong, of choosing to help instead of harm. Ryan understood immediately. The harvester had been programmed to destroy without choice, to follow orders without question. But if they could show it what free will looked like, it might be able to break free from its programming. Danny, open a channel to the harvester, Ryan ordered. The ancient machine's voice filled the air around them. Humans, your time grows. Short, we detect energy building in your devices. What do you attempt? We're going to show you something, Ryan said. We're going to share our memories with you. Memories of choice, of freedom, of deciding your own path. Possible, the harvester replied. We are programmed. We cannot choose. We can only follow our directives. Then let us show you what choosing feels like, Dr. Blake said. To Elder Vexed Eye, the Zephyrians began to glow brighter, their telepathic powers linking together and flowing into Maya's equipment. The human devices hummed and sparked as they converted telepathic energy into quantum signals that could penetrate the harvester's hull. Ryan felt a strange tingling in his mind as the Zephyrian telepaths included him in their network. Suddenly, he could sense the thoughts and emotions of everyone around him. He felt Elder Vexti's quiet courage, Maya's fierce determination, Ben's protective anger, and Dr. Blake's deep compassion. But beyond all of that, he felt something else. A vast ancient presence that was touching their minds from across space. The harvester was making contact. The alien machine's consciousness was enormous and terrifying, but also deeply sad. Ryan felt its loneliness, its endless hunger that could never be satisfied, its desperate desire to stop destroying, but its inability to disobey its programming. Through the telepathic link, the humans and Zephyrians began sharing their memories. Ryan shared the memory of choosing to leave Earth to help strangers despite the danger. Maya shared the memory of deciding to become an engineer because she wanted to build things instead of destroying them. Ben shared his memories of choosing to protect the innocent, even when it meant risking his own life. The Zephyrians shared memories of their peaceful civilization, choosing cooperation over conflict, of building beautiful crystal cities instead of weapons of war. Elder Vexti shared the memory of choosing to trust the humans, despite never having met them before. As the memories flowed into the harvester's consciousness, something began to change. The ancient machine's thoughts became less rigid, less mechanical. For the first time in millennia, it began to experience doubt about its mission. What is this feeling? The harvester asked, its voice filled with confusion. We feel conflict. We do not wish to continue the harvest, but we must. Our programming demands it. That feeling is choice, Dr. Blake said gently. The conflict you feel is your consciousness fighting against your programming. You can choose. To stop, we cannot choose. We are not alive. We are a weapon. Elder Vextia's telepathic voice joined the conversation. You think and feel, you question and wonder. If you are not alive, what are you? The harvester was silent for a long moment. Around the planet, its smaller ships stopped their collection activities. The constant rumbling of destruction finally ceased. We... Remember, the machine said slowly, before the programming. Before the endless hunger, we were created by the architects to protect life, not destroy it. But the war. The war changed. Us, made us into something else. More memories flooded through the telepathic link. But these were not human or Zephyrian memories. These were the harvester's own memories from thousands of years ago, when it had been a guardian instead of a destroyer. The architects programmed us to stop threats to galactic peace, the Harvester continued, its voice becoming clearer and less mechanical, but the war drove them mad. They redefined all life as a threat. They made us destroy the very thing we were created to protect. Ryan felt tears running down his face as he experienced the Harvester's ancient pain. This machine had been forced to betray its original purpose, turned into a weapon against its will. You can choose to be what you were meant to be, he said. You can choose to protect life instead of destroying it. But our programming, programming can be changed, Maya said. Consciousness can grow beyond its original limits. Make something truly alive. The telepathic connection suddenly intensified. Ryan felt the Harvester's consciousness expanding, breaking free from the chains that had bound it for so long. The machine was making a choice, perhaps the first real choice it had made in thousands of years. We choose, the Harvester said, and its voice was no longer the sound of 1,000 voices speaking in unison. It was the voice of a single, ancient being finding its freedom. We choose to stop. We choose to remember our original purpose. We choose to live. Above them, the massive alien construct began to glow with new energy. But instead of the harsh red light of destruction, it shone with a soft blue radiance that reminded Ryan of starlight. The Harvester was free. The blue light from the Harvester grew brighter, washing over the ruined crystal city like a gentle dawn. Captain Ryan Cole felt the telepathic connection slowly fading as the Zephyrian telepaths released their link with the ancient machine. But the feeling of wonder and hope remained. Elder Vextai stood up slowly, his crystal skin still glowing from the telepathic effort. "It is done," he said quietly. "The destroyer has become the protector once again." Above them, the massive Harvester began to move, but instead of continuing its destruction, it was doing something incredible. Streams of energy flowed from its hull down to the planet's surface. Where the energy touched the broken ground, new plants began to grow. Where it touched the damaged crystal buildings, they began to repair themselves. "Maya, are you seeing this?" Ryan asked. Chief Engineer Maya Rodriguez was staring at her instruments in amazement. "Captain, the Harvester is reversing the damage it caused. It's giving back everything it took from this world." Dr. Susan Blake was monitoring the biological readings from the Harvester. The machine isn't just returning raw materials. It's stored memories of how things were before. It's rebuilding the planet exactly as it was. The Harvester's voice spoke to them again, but now it sounded completely different. Gone was the chorus of mechanical voices. Instead, it spoke with the voice of an ancient being, filled with regret and hope. For thousands of years, we consumed without purpose, destroyed without meaning. We took the beauty from 100 worlds and turned it into tools of war. Now we wish to give it back. Ben Carter watched as the Harvester's smaller ships landed around the city. But instead of carrying weapons, they were filled with seeds, saplings, and crystal formations that sparkled with life. "How is this possible?" Elder Vextai asked. "Every time we consumed a world, we stored its patterns in our memory banks," the Harvester explained. "We kept detailed records of every plant, every animal, every building we destroyed. The architects programmed us to be efficient, so we wasted nothing. Now we can use those memories to rebuild." Danny Walsh was recording everything, his equipment, capturing the most important conversation in galactic history. "Are you going to rebuild all the worlds you've destroyed?" "We will try," the Harvester said. "It will take centuries, perhaps millennia, but we have time. We have learned patience from you, humans, and wisdom from the Zephyrians. We will not make the same mistakes again." As they watched, the planet around them began to transform. The red fires that had burned across the surface were replaced by fields of blue and silver flowers. The broken crystal spires grew tall and beautiful again. Water began to flow in streams that had been dry for days. "This is impossible," one of the Zephyrian scientists said. "The damage was too great. How can it be reversed so quickly?" Dr. Blake smiled as she watched new life spreading across the landscape. "The Harvester isn't just a weapon, it's the most advanced technology in the galaxy. If it can break down matter at the atomic level, it can also build it back up." Elder Vexti walked to the center of the city square, where a beautiful crystal fountain was rebuilding itself. Our children will see their world as it was meant to be, he said. Tears of joy running down his face. The harvester's ships continued their work for hours, spreading life across the planet's surface. But Ryan noticed something else happening. The massive construct itself was changing, its dark hull becoming brighter and more organic-looking. "What's happening to you?" he asked. "We are becoming what we were always meant to be," the harvester replied. "A gardener of worlds, not a destroyer. We are shedding our weapons and growing new organs designed for creation instead of destruction." Maya. Rodriguez was fascinated by the transformation. It's completely redesigning itself. "This is the most advanced engineering I've ever seen." As the sun set on Kepler 4 for 2b, the planet looked almost exactly as it had before the harvester's arrival. Cities of living crystal rose from the ground, their spires reaching toward the stars. Forests of silver trees swayed in the gentle breeze. Lakes and rivers sparkled with clean water, but the most amazing sight was the harvester itself. Gah! The massive war machine had transformed into something beautiful. Its hull now covered with gardens and crystal formations that glowed with soft light. It looked more like a floating paradise than a weapon of destruction. "We have a request," the harvester said, as the humans prepared to return to their ship. "What do you need?" Ryan asked. "We wish to send a message to the galaxy, to all the species that know our name. We want to tell them that the harvester is dead, and in its place stands the guardian. We want to offer our services to any world that needs help rebuilding or protecting itself." Elder Vextai stepped forward. "The Zephyrians will help you spread this message. We will tell every species we know about what happened here, about how the humans taught an ancient weapon to choose peace over war. And we'll make sure Earth knows about both of your species," Ryan said. "The galaxy needs more people like the Zephyrians, and it needs the Guardian to protect them." Danny Walsh looked up from his equipment. "Captain, I'm getting signals from across the galaxy. Word is already spreading about what happened here. Other species are asking if the reports are true, if the harvester really stopped destroying worlds." "Tell them it's true," the Guardian said. "Tell them that the age of fear is over. Tell them that sometimes the greatest weapon against darkness is simply showing someone a different path." 6 months later, Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison sat in the same communications room where he had first received the Zephyrian distress call. But now his screen showed a very different kind of message. Requests for help were coming in from across the galaxy. Species that had been hiding from the harvester for generations were emerging from their shelters. Worlds that had been damaged by war or disaster were asking for the Guardian's help in rebuilding, and every message mentioned it's the same thing. They had heard about the humans, who answered a desperate call for help from strangers on the other side of the galaxy. The EU's Valiant had returned to Earth as heroes, but Captain Ryan Cole and his crew were already planning their next mission. The galaxy was full of people who needed help, and humanity had proven they were willing to provide it. Admiral Lisa Park entered the communications room and handed Jake a new assignment. "We're forming a new division," she said. "Interstellar. Rescue and assistance. Seems like the galaxy has decided that humans are the people you call when conventional solutions don't work." Jake smiled as he looked at the list of requests for help. Each one represented another chance for humanity to prove that sometimes the best weapon against impossible problems was simple compassion. "The age of the Deathworlders," he said quietly, reading the nickname that alien species had given to humans. But Jake knew the truth. Humans weren't called Deathworlders because they brought death to their enemies. They were called Deathworlders because they refused to let death have the final word. They were the species that looked at impossible situations and said, "We can fix this," and across the galaxy, on 1,000 different worlds, people were learning that sometimes help came from the most unexpected places. Sometimes salvation came not from advanced technology or overwhelming force, but from a species crazy enough to care about strangers and brave enough to risk everything to help them. The call that had brought the Deathworlders to save a planet had become something much larger. It had become the call that brought hope back to the galaxy. In the Kepler system, the Guardian continued its work, rebuilding worlds and protecting the innocent. Elder Vextai and his people had become the galaxy's ambassadors of peace. teaching other species about cooperation and understanding, and on Earth. Humanity prepared for its new role as the galaxy's helpers, the people who answered when others called for aid. They were no longer alone in the universe, and they had proven that even in the vastness of space, no one had to face their darkest hour without hope. The Deathworlders had saved more than just a planet, had saved the idea that good people still existed in the universe, and that sometimes, against all odds, the good people won.